Today marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan and the beginning of the Eid al-Fitr holiday, and more than 1 billion Muslims around the world are celebrating this holiday with their family and friends. At the same time, more than 1 million Uyghurs are detained in China's so-called political re-education camps. And the State Department last week called on China to release all the Uyghurs detained in these camps, but the Chinese government has not released them. So what's your message today to the Chinese government?
This is a terrible mistake that they've made. They shouldn't have done it. Locking up this many people of faith simply because they're Muslims and the Chinese are trying to control the Muslim population in their country. And we continue to call upon them to release these individuals, and that the world has taken note, the world will take note, and there will be actions that will follow this consequence of what China is doing. You think about that we're in 2019, and we're talking about internment camps and re-education camps and these sort of things that sound like they should belong in the 40s and 50s, not where the world is today. So I think this is a terrible mistake that the Chinese have made, and we call upon them to release all the Uyghurs and to allow them to freely practice their faith, to peacefully and freely practice their faith. Particularly in this season where Ramadan's just over and it's a celebratory time, the Chinese really should do the right thing. And it also sends a message to the world that if China is willing to do this to their own Muslim population, what do they think of Muslims around the world that peacefully practice their faith? I think this is a country the size of China, the biggest population country in the world, the second biggest economy. They need to be far more interested in what they are projecting to the rest of the world, of what they think of people of faith, particularly the Muslim faith, but they're doing this to Christians, they're doing this to Buddhists, they're doing this to Falun Gong, across the board.
On this very special day, Uyghurs, especially Uyghurs in exile, they cannot be with their family and friends. Most of them do not even know whether their family and friends are alive or in detention camps. They cannot call their parents to say Eid Mubarak, and their loved ones the same. And they are living in a very difficult situation. A lot of them are very distressed, and they do not see hope. So what's your message to the Uyghur people who are not just in exile, but the Uyghur people who are inside the camps, and the 10 million Uyghurs outside of the camps who also live in what many scholars describe as a police state?
My message to them is to pray and have hope. Not to give up hope. This situation is coming clearer in focus around the world. You're seeing protesters now mount up in some Muslim countries. In Indonesia, there were protesters. The Turkish government has spoken out. The United States government has spoken out strongly and with clarity. There's a phrase in the Bible about God is not mocked. There is a clarity of truth that comes through in due season. Doesn't mean there won't be pain and difficulty along. But God is not mocked. There will be truth. There will be righteous things that will happen in the future, and to maintain that hope.
What will happen to the Uyghur people if the international community fails to, besides expressing its concerns, fails to take any kind of meaningful action with regard to the situation?
When the international community doesn't take actions to address issues, when they take an appeasement strategy, it just emboldens the people that act. What we will see taking place if China is not confronted in Xinjiang is we'll see these tactics used in other places by other authoritarian regimes. We'll see taking place these other high-tech surveillance systems put in place by authoritarian regimes with artificial intelligence, facial recognition systems. We'll see oppression taking place to where there may not, in some cases in Xinjiang, people aren't locked up, but you can't act in the society because You can't go to a mosque, you'll get seen going in there, and if you get seen, you'll get a lower social credit score, then you can't participate in the culture of the society. And you get blocked out by the very high-tech systems. I think you'll see these systems multiply if the world doesn't confront China with what it's doing now. That's the history of these. If you don't confront them, then it just expands. Now's the time for the world community to act.
And in your recent remarks, you stated that China is at war with religions. And at the time, China's assault on Islam, especially Uyghur people's religious, cultural, ethnic identity is under severe assault. Do you think China will win its war on Islam against the Uyghur people?
No. Think how many regimes in the past have tried that. And how successful have they been? You can put down a faith community for a while, but by the very nature of faith, it's an internal, you're trying to put down the soul of man. It is a fight you cannot win and you will not win. Islam has been around for a long period of time, and it's going to be around. This is a war that China will not win, and regimes have tried and have failed in the past, and the Chinese will fail too.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your time today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.